Hello my friends, welcome to another video from Magister Klaus. I have realized that I haven't made another review of the book for some time. The reasons for it were mostly my Saturnian rituals that I was performing during the last few weeks, and also that I was just trying to read few more books in advance, so I am prepared for the next review season starting this week. But that's why after this video I will be also sending or creating another vote for another books for you to review. But I wanted to finish the first season of the reviews from the year 2021 by the last book that was that haven't won, but I think is worthy of the review. I would like to speak about a very nice and interesting in some way book called Quimbanda, The Cult of the Red and Black Flame. The author of the book is Danilo Coppini, and you see it's quite a big tome. It has almost 560 pages. It can be, I think, still bought on Amazon, although I think sometimes it goes out of stock. The price for the book is, I think, $40. But now as I am looking at Amazon, I see that it's not available. But I think it still get reprints, and you can also check on the internet to look at this book if you will be interested. So why would you be interested in this book, or what is it about? When I first get to this book, I understood that Quimbanda is a very specific school of magic. It's a religion. It's practically also religion that is quite known in the area of Brazil, mostly in the bigger towns of Brazil. It's a religion that works with very specific types of spirits that are some of them come from the African origin, some of them are from the native origin of original Indian tribes that were living over the areas of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay. And also it works with spirits and demons that came from Europe. So practically we can say that the tradition of Quimbanda was starting to develop itself quite early, maybe in the 15th, 16th century, as the colonization of the Portuguese in the area of Brazil continued. Portuguese, it's known that they bring a lot of slaves from Africa, and they were colonizing the territory. And Quimbanda is practically like a very specific tradition combining all of these three main currents. So the Indian currents, the currents of the African population, and also it contains black magic, Goetic rituals, mostly from the tradition of Europe. So this book is about this tradition. Quimbanda is still a living tradition, although in Brazil officially only 1% of people officially acknowledge that they are working with Quimbanda. I don't blame them. I can absolutely understand, even in Europe or in US, sometimes it's difficult to us to say that we are Luciferians. So probably there is much more people. Before I move into the book, maybe a little bit about the history of Quimbanda, because I think it's helpful. As I said, Portuguese brought a lot of slaves into the Brazil, and a lot of African slaves brought their own religion that was suppressed by the Portuguese. and Portuguese call these their traditions. They're working with their own African traditions a little bit like in pejorative term. They call it that the African slaves are in Brazil were working or performing so-called macumba. Macumba was practically like a witchery. It was heavily suppressed by them, and later on, from this macumba, from many of these African traditions, it started to change in Brazil, because also the slaves came into the contact with the Indian tribes. And also some of them were, it's very interesting story, and here we maybe started. Mr. Coppini is already trying to explain that there were a lot of people that tried to run away from the slavery. Also, and there were many independent communities in the 17th, 18th century that started to run away from the Portuguese colonies. They created small independent colonies in particularly in this difficult terrain of jungles. And they created these communities contained Indians, African slaves, and also white runaways, mostly prisoners that were able to run away from the Portuguese oppression. And they start to combine their traditions. From this African macumba, two main religious traditions appeared. One is Umbanda. It is currently called the right hand path. It still connects with the African origins, with the African native spirits and so on, but is also heavily influenced by Christianity. So Umbanda contains also a lot of workings with the saints and so on. It's a little bit similar to the voodoo, but of course different African tribes were slaves in Portuguese colonies. The second religious tradition is Quimbanda. Quimbanda is practically is without the Catholic tradition. It works more with the spirit of the original African spirits and also with the local spirits, and it works with demons. What was the influence of this Goetia into the Quimbanda? Well, that's an interesting story, because a lot of Portuguese at that time, they brought also, some of them were sorcerers, magicians as we are, but they just wanted to find a new way in Brazilian colonies. But of course they were not very happy with the very, very strong dictatorship of the church. The Portuguese were very strictly religious, so they brought their own grimoires, mostly Portuguese occult texts. In Portugal and also in Spain, contrary maybe to the German, French and British traditions, Portugal and Spain was in 16th century influenced by maybe not by Grimoire Verum that appeared more in France and Italy, but with a very specific school of text called, the book is called the Book of Saint Cyprian. That was the famous grimoire, but although this Book of Saint Cyprian, we can say that it's one book, it's not. It's a series of occult traditions texts. Practically, these were the grimoires that were created mostly in the 17th, later on even 18th century. And the Book of Saint Cyprian contains information about demons, similar to the Goetia or Lemegeton. So maybe I will later on do also a review about the Book of Saint Cyprian. This is also a very interesting story. So the Portuguese brought the occult texts of the Book of Saint Cyprian. They mixed with the African traditions of Macumba, And Quimbanda is also influenced by the local religions of the Indian tribes of Brazil and Uruguay and others. And we have created, or there was created, a very interesting and very powerful school of Quimbanda that is practiced until today. In Quimbanda, and the book starts to speak a little bit also about its history, you see that it's a lot of text. It's quite a lot of text that is full of very interesting pictures and workings. And chapters of the book is practically the history and introduction also to the Quimbandian tradition. And you later found out that they created like a very interesting structure of the spirits. It's similar to the hierarchies of Lesser Key of Solomon or even Grimoire Verum, but also different. Quimbanda believes that there is like the infernal realm, then there is like the realm of the world, and also the realm of the higher energies and higher planes. So something similar to these older versions of Kabbalah, and also it works with the Kabbalistic tree a little bit. Quimbanda is working with two main types of spirits. One are called Exus. Exus are mostly the male spirits, but maybe they are not only like male spirits, they contain a little bit like this male aspect. And then there is like the opposite power of the spirit. It's like this female side of the spirit. It's called Pombagira. So there are two main type of spirits. All these spirits are considered like left-hand path. What do we mean by that? In Umbanda, in this more Christian-oriented tradition, you work with the so-called right-hand spirits, so maybe with the saints. They can help you more in your, like, in the future, when you die, they will help, so the God will take you to the heaven. Quimbanda is more oriented towards earthly realms. So the Exus and Pombagiras are affecting our material plane. They are so-called rituals that are also mentioned here. They are called trabalho, and these rituals are mostly for money, for love, for curses. Many of them are for curses. This is quite dark tradition, and practically working with the spiritual energies that can influence the basic things that we as people sometimes want. So these spirits are used for spells mostly, and also for protection. As we know that this comes with a very specific metaphysical concept as well, because we know that as these spirits are affecting the material realm, they believe that the leader of the spirits of Quimbanda is a being that is considered mayoral. It's like in main entity. The mayoral has also its own sign. This book is full of very specific signs that you can work with later. They call these signs or sigil pontos. Pontos means bridge. And you have so many of them. Practically there exists hundreds of these pontos. And the sigil of mayoral, or this main being, the leader of the spirits, is like this. It's practically Lucifer. We can say that, and they also say they then have like very specific like sigils also for this emanation of this Luciferian entity, like we call them deific masks. They have other pontos here. So there is very complicated structure of these pontos. You can see here, working with, they believe that this mayoral consists of all four elements: earth, water, air, and fire. It can present itself in four another, I would say, manifestations. This mayoral, this whole energy of the world, can present itself like in a physical body. They call it like the destroyer of physical chains, and this physical body, this energy that presides over our bodies, is Belial. They call him Belial. In astral, the astral space, so this place of our dreams, it's presided by another spirit called Leviathan. So they really they work with the spirits from Goetia. Then there is mental body, something that part of this great mayoral, which is practically our thoughts and our will. And they call him, this part of mayoral is called liberator of the thought, and it's Beelzebub. And a spiritual body, something that brings the wisdom, it's Lucifer. We came into a very interesting structure, because later on they practically created, or Mr. Coppini is also showing a whole structure of these spirits. So you see that we have like these all four spirits that I was mentioning are also residing over several cardinal directions. So you can work on the north. On the north, you have, for example, Belial. He is related with the earth element, Leviathan with water, as we know, Beelzebub with air, and Lucifer with fire. And then we have like Exus and Pombagiras, female and male elements. So there is a big mystic and metaphysics of occult metaphysics hidden in this tradition. They later on, and the book continues, that it divides not only like types of like energy currents of the spirits, whether it's female or male, but it speaks also about the so-called families of spirits. And in Quimbanda, and this is quite, this book speaks about so-called 7 kingdoms of the material plane. There are families of spirits that are related to specific tasks, and they call them like the kingdoms of crossroads, crosses, souls, Kalunga, woods, lyre, and beach. Some of these spirits are good like for elemental spirits. Some of them are good for love. Some of them are chthonic, yeah. So working with more the energies of the dead and so on. Then we have like Kingdom of the Woods. This is very important family of spirits, mostly in Brazil, because here we see this combination of these animal spirits. This macumba is mixing with our Western tradition of magic. So the spirits of the animals are also presented in the tradition of Quimbanda. All of these rituals, or all those practitioners that work on this, say that this is like extremely potent tradition. These spirits are used to affect real life around us. And from my perspective, what I really love is how Mr. Coppini is explaining the techniques of these pontos, these sigil making. This is something like almost forgotten in our tradition, how the sigils are being made. I know that we now have like applications for it. If you study, for example, planetary magic or work with Picatrix, there are explanations how the sigils are being made. But here Mr. Coppini explains a rich tradition of Quimbanda, what we can understand under each sigil, under each ponto. So when you look at the ponto and when you read this book, you will be able, from the looking at the sigil, to understand maybe its nature. So it's not only like this channeling done by us. Sometimes, yes, we can also understand by meditation, when we look at the sigil, what we feel energy, but this is like real working system. Specific lines mean something, and the sigils here are very complex, yeah, and you will understand what type of spirit probably is, what can each spirit do. In later part of the books Mr. Coppini also explained how to work, so the traditions of Quimbanda, what kind of incenses are being used for each spirit, what kind of food, what is not allowed, because I have to say Quimbanda is very ceremonial. Specific spirits want only specific type of food, specific types of incense. Some types of food are, for example, forbidden. Mostly, what is not, for example, interesting in Quimbanda, it's forbidden to offer bananas to spirits, because this type of offering was considered offensive to mostly to the Macumba, to the African spirits. We know that Portuguese sometimes were mocking the slaves with these bananas, that they were not considering them humans but just like animals, and considered them to the apes. Yeah, so even the spirits that were protecting the slaves are not. There is big trauma in Quimbanda from the slavery. The spirits are warlike. They were practically helping these many people that were using Quimbanda were refugees or fugitives from the oppression of the slavers. So they used magic many times to protect their communities against them. And these animal offerings must be very specific. So also the spirits are very can be offended if you don't offer the right offering. But the result, it comes with the offer, and it is very interesting and very deep. You see, there are so many of them, of these spirits that are described. And each family spirits are divided in the book, and what they can do, how can they affect your workings. They are in the then at the end, like there are like the last two parts of the books in the middle of the book you have the Exus, the male spirits, the very known spirits that are being worked with, Exu Lucifer, Exu Beelzebub, but also Exus of these animals, Exu Cobra, Exu Lobo, it means wolf. Then you have also very interesting spirits called, for example, Exu Sete Portas. It means like the spirit of the seven gates, very similar to the spirit of Grimoire Verum, this crossroad spirit, Sirlin. And so there are many practitioners that work with Quimbanda have found similarities, and practically we can say that some names of these Exus and Pombagiras are practically the name, just different name for the spirits that we use in the workings of Solomonic magic, Ars Goetia, and so on. Then there is a part for Pombagiras, so we have like Pombagira queens, Pombagira Maria Mulambo, it's very famous spirit. Mulambo means also the spirit of the poor. Mulambo, it's more pejorative term. In Portuguese is like the Brazilian Portuguese is like the Mulambo, the spirit of the trash. So it was meant like the spirit of the most poor. This spirit can help also those that are ridiculed by society, that are on the edge of society. And it's one of the, we know of course that there are communities even now that are on the level of poverty, so we know that these spirits are really helpful in Southern America. The book continues, and after the depictions of these Pombagiras, this working with the female spirits, is ending, we get into the last chapters of a little bit like the descriptions of how to do the consecrations, how to do the prayers to the spirits, how to do the banishing ceremonial rituals, work for the breakings of protection, even this like breaking of protection or creating the protection. The tradition of the ritual is a little bit or the ceremony of the ritual a little bit differs. There is a lot of we use ends or mantras in the culture of Quimbanda. There is a lot of singing. Yeah, the voice as such is very potent. So you have here like even the chants in Portuguese, but the book also translated into the English. So if you are not like speaking Brazilian Portuguese, it's very good to know it. Like with all systems, when we work with Kabbalah, it's great to know a little bit, at least few words in Hebrew. So it's good to learn a little bit of the Brazilian Portuguese. By the way, it's a beautiful language. It sounds beautiful. So if you are able to chant in the original language, that's very nice. These pontos are being mostly drawn on the ground. Maybe even now modernized on some parchments, but what is different here is that the offering of blood is being cautioned against, because they believe that if you offer the blood on the ponto, on the bridge, you really open the gate to the spirit. Some of the spirits are can be really like they are warlike spirits, wild spirits, energy spirits. So there is a lot of possession going here, like in all traditions of Macumba, Umbanda, Voodoo. Yeah. So also in Quimbanda there are rituals of dancing, chanting, and voluntary possession. But offering blood to the spirit is considered like only for very advanced practitioners. We offer, or if you start with it, it's good to offer water or alcohol. Alcohol is given to the ponto, or sometimes it's being spit from your mouth, like the alcohol. But there are specific types of alcohol. So this is the specific type of candles, and this book teaches practically everything even for the advanced users of Quimbanda. But of course, even the author says that the tradition is really so rich that he was not able to show all pontos, all sigils, all spirits, but the major one are already here. It's interesting to be said that tradition of Quimbanda is growing also outside of Brazil, and also outside of maybe those communities that speak Portuguese. I know that there are like working orders of Quimbanda in cities like London, for example. So even people from different type of magic traditions and schools are starting to work with Quimbanda. I, from my personal perspective, have been working with several sigils of Quimbanda in my workings. They are really potent, but then you have to also remember that this sigil is a little bit different, or this ponto is a little bit different from traditional sigils. You have to be careful about the type of offering that you are giving, careful about the blood, things like that. I would like to say that I consider this book really very good source, and it's one of the best books. I have read also a few others. You can find on internet also other books about Quimbanda, but I consider this book by Mr. Danilo Coppini the best on the market. If you have opportunity to still acquire it somewhere, do it. I give it 5 stars of 5. It's 5 stars. It is very good. So I hope, friends, you will maybe decide to try something different, to experiment with also different traditions of left hand path magic. And I hope to see you next time on another reviews. Have a great day and enjoy the rituals.